Any other languages?
French.
Il y a français? Not in the room?
France.
Okay. Well, anyway, thank you, everybody. And esteemed colleagues, it's really such a pleasure and an honor to be here. I'm John Weston. I'm president of the Canadian Health and Fitness Institute. I'm an international lawyer, and I served as a member of parliament for 8 years in the Canadian Parliament. It's really an honor to be at this 14th International Conference on Health and Wellness here in Malmo, Sweden, such a historic city. And I have to say how much my wife Donna and I appreciate the work of the organizers. Would you just join with me in giving a little hand of applause to the people who got us here from Portland? Before we dive in, I want to say how excited we are to be in Sweden for the first time. I'm a lifelong fan of Bjorn Borg, the tennis player, and our family loves dancing to ABBA. And we feel we just have a special connection to Sweden. And that was especially obvious when I came down in the elevator in our hotel this morning, and the gentleman had a bag with Thule on it. And I said to him, "Do you work for Thule?" And of course he did. And it's one of the favorite products in our family, not only the boxes that carry the bicycles and things, but also my laptop protector is a Thule laptop protector. But beyond all that, I want to introduce you to my pride and joy, which is my Swedish-made 900S Saab convertible. And I can tell you that this car turns heads on the roads in Canada, just as Sweden's approach to public health turns heads in the international community. So I stand before you today with a sense of urgency and hope. We're at a critical juncture in health in Canada and the world, facing a crisis that demands immediate action, but also presenting an opportunity for transformative change. The research and recommendations I'm about to share have been rigorously reviewed and deemed valuable contributions, not just for Canada, but we hope also for the international dialogue on health and wellness. Sweden is a country that's known for its innovative approaches to public health. It's therefore fitting that in this venue we consider bold new strategies for revolutionizing the role of physical activity in Canadian society and elsewhere. Our findings and proposals, while focused on Canada, we hope have implications that resonate far beyond Canada's borders. And we hope these insights will benefit your community and communities around the world. In 1960, in a powerful article published by President-elect John F. Kennedy in Sports Illustrated, he said the following things about physical activity. And his comments, I think, are really relevant to us today in a conference themed by the ties between health and democracy, democracy and health. And here's what he said. He said, "The same civilizations which produce some of our highest achievements of philosophy and drama, government and art, also gave us a belief in the importance of physical soundness. This knowledge is as old as Western civilization itself, but it is a knowledge which today we are in danger of forgetting. The physical well-being of the citizen is an important foundation for the vigor and vitality of all the activities of the nation." In a conference whose major theme is the link between health and democracy, could there be a more fitting quotation? 3 generations later, let's think of where we are. If the late President Kennedy had reason to lament the decline of physical activity as a positive contributor to health in 1960, how much more focus should we put on the problem today? Do we agree with his quote that the physical well-being of the citizen is an important foundation for the vigor and vitality of all the activities of a nation? If so, wouldn't you join President Kennedy in concluding that we have a problem of clear and present danger on our hands? Today, in my brief 20 minutes, I'll outline the crisis we face, why conventional responses are not working, and present some 23 costed recommendations that could revolutionize the way we in Canada and you in your countries embrace physical activity. Let's begin with a stark reality. Physical activity, once intrinsic to daily lives, has been systematically stripped away by modern conveniences and technological advancements. As we all know, labor-saving devices, online shopping, food delivery services, and other developments have drastically reduced our need for physical movement. Screen time has skyrocketed. In Canada, 83% of youth today exceed the recommended limit of 2 hours of recreational screen time per day. Physical education has been marginalized in the school curricula, forcing us now to teach physical literacy as a separate skill. And this isn't just about missing a few steps each day. It's about a fundamental shift in how we live, work, and interact with our environment, a shift that has profound implications for our health and well-being. Listen to this. 1/3 of Canadian youth are now overweight or obese, and that's twice the rate from 1979, just a generation or two ago. This increases their likelihood of cardiovascular disease, diabetes, mental illness, and other chronic conditions. The impact on mental health is astounding. Screen use spiked during the pandemic, worsening the trend of social isolation and outdoor impoverishment. We're facing a growing mental health crisis in Canada, and I wouldn't be surprised if you have the same in your communities. 1.6 million children and youth in Canada were diagnosed with a mental health disorder. That's out of a population of 7 million youth and children. 30% of Canadians between 18 and 35 are now seeing a therapist. And we wouldn't discourage anyone from seeing a therapist who needs one, but the statistic tells us how pervasive is the problem. Our spiritual health is also affected. The decline in physical activity has robbed many of outdoor experiences that once fostered a sense of awe and connection to the Almighty. Constant digital engagement leaves little time for introspection and reflection and asking the big questions about our purpose in life. The financial consequences are also astounding. A 2009 analysis put the cost of inactivity at $6.8 billion annually in Canada. More recent estimates suggest that cost has grown exponentially. And perhaps the most haunting cost is what we don't know, the untold damage to human potential, creativity, and social well-being caused by this inactivity trend. So how does Canada compare to other countries? In a 2022 study of 57 countries, Canada ranked 12th in overall physical activity, 24th in sedentary behavior, and a miserable 45th for active transportation. Given Canada's natural advantages, we should be doing much, much better. So why, you might ask, are conventional responses not working? What are we doing wrong? Why haven't we solved this already? The truth is that our current approaches are falling short. In Canada, the healthcare system focuses overwhelmingly on reactive care rather than prevention. We wait for people to get sick, then we treat them, and we ignore preventive or proactive health care. There's a misguided belief that simply throwing more money at the problem will fix it. In Canada, the public health care system cost 344 billion Canadian dollars in 2023. That's about 12% of Canadian GDP, which puts Canada a top spender among the OECD countries. That's not a statistic we should be proud of, because our outcomes lag far behind. We lack a holistic approach that addresses physical, mental, and spiritual health as interconnected aspects of overall well-being. Moreover, entrenched institutional biases are hindering progress, not helping it. Our medical education system provides little training in exercise, nutrition, and proactive health. Political short-term thinking, or short-termism, discourages leaders from taking on long-term health challenges that may not show results within one election cycle. There's a pervasive fear of change in our healthcare institutions, with many preferring the status quo over potentially disruptive innovations. So enter the organization that Donna and I lead, the Canadian Health and Fitness Institute. It's a nonprofit, and nonprofits were featured in this morning's discussion by Professor Ramgard. We love the future, and that's a quote that I stole from our hotel, which is promoting good use of towels. We love the future. CHFI also loves the future. So we aim to add hope to this desolate landscape. We've developed 9 key projects to address the crisis. The first is a national forum on health and fitness. We had the first of its kind this year in June in Vancouver, attracting innovators and medical people and people who care about physical activity. The second one will be June 1st in Toronto. We hope that you can join us, June 1, 2025. We also have a Let's Move Canada podcast series. So we've just finished filming and releasing the 23rd episode of this series. It's hosted by young people. It features health professionals and athletes who promote physical, mental, and spiritual well-being. We have a digital platform to reach youth. It's called Go Get Fit. And this thing is adaptable anywhere in the world. It's a joint venture with a program developed by one of CHFI's advisors, Dr. Peter Rawlick. And it's designed to integrate the schedules of students with parents and teachers so that when the students stop being active physically, the parents and the teachers are alerted and can be responsive, integrating the concept of accountability. We anticipate a national hut-to-hut trail system, and one of our advisors is a nationally renowned architect who's developed the specifications for these huts, and we have contractors lined up to build the first prototype huts. The idea is get people out on trails, outdoors, walking, hiking, running, if they're in wheelchairs, rolling, so that they get beyond the socialization, isolation, outdoors, interacting with others, moving. A fifth project is the presentation of our ideas in conferences like this one, both internationally and domestically at home. We've also developed an activity communities index, closely working with local governments, 2 of them in British Columbia. We're developing a tool that can be used by local governments around the country to make better decisions for the use of their recreational resources, again, to promote physical activity. Our 7th project is called Let's Move Canada, or in French, Bougeons Canada. It's a digital challenge, which is a bit ironic since the whole digital world is part of the problem of undermining physical activity. But we have to acknowledge we need to use the digital world to reach people to get them more physically active. So in 2024, we netted something like 500,000 hours of physical activity from all 10 Canadian provinces and 3 territories. The project is done in connection or in partnership with Strava, as well as with Indigenous communities. We're also planning a feature film documentary that's aimed at promoting physical activity, celebrating culture and landscapes. So the idea is that we have to get people interested using different media. And then finally, and this is a dream, to create the National Adventure and Innovation Center. It would be a facility built somewhere in Canada that educates the educators, coaches the coaches, and teaches the teachers. And just like the Statue of Liberty encourages people around the world about human rights, not everybody who's encouraged by the statue sees it. And we think that this facility will be an encourager for Canadians and people from around the world, even people who don't actually go there to take benefit of its direct programs. Now, we recognize, as Professor Ramsgaard noted this morning, that to be effective in healthcare, NGOs have to work with governments, with corporations, with other entities. And so we've developed 14 recommendations for government that are beyond the 9 projects that CHFI is working on today. And the first is to support a youth program for hut and trail construction. This, ironically, is inspired by the American Conservation Corps. And we now have, since 2018, a Canadian Conservation Corps that is overseen by the Canadian Wildlife Federation. The idea is get youth outside, working on huts and trails, and interacting with people from all different groups in society, in both of Canada's official languages. The second recommendation is that we need to increase dramatically the percentage of our healthcare budget that is invested in proactive healthcare. Right now, it's infinitesimally small. In fact, when I asked people in Public Health Agency of Canada, how much do we invest in preventive healthcare? They couldn't give me a number. The number is likely around 1 or 2%, and we're saying move it up to 5% of the $344 billion spent last year. Our third recommendation comes from when I served in Parliament, when I got members of Parliament to run together on a Tuesday and swim together on a Thursday. The idea wasn't just to improve the healthcare or the health of parliamentarians, but to get them to think of themselves as role models for a nation, inspiring everybody. The other recommendation that's related to that is to promote National Health and Fitness Day. So National Health and Fitness Day in Canada is the first Saturday in June every year, and it comes from a bill that I got passed in Parliament in 2014. The idea is that local governments which oversee the facilities that are accessible to people should open their doors more freely one day of the year to get sedentary people more active. And the one day in the year hopefully encourages people year-round to be more involved in physical activity. We're also suggesting that our government should promote national events in the capital city, which, just like parliamentarians encouraging all people, things that happen in the capital are likely to be of significance nationally. So we have Bike Day on the Hill, Swim Day on the Hill, and Ski Day on the Hill, Parliament Hill that is, all events which got started and which I helped inaugurate when I was a member of Parliament. We're suggesting that government get behind more research on effective interventions that involve physical activity, and government support more fulsomely the measurement of mental health improvements. We heard this morning when, I think it was Alfredo asked the question about measurement. Sorry, your name again? Arnaldo. Great question. And we acknowledge we have to have more measurement of improvement in mental health relating to physical activity in order to persuade decision makers that it's really worth the investment. Our eighth recommendation relates to a program that is launched out of the University of British Columbia. One of CHFI's prominent advisors is Dr. Silke Cresswell, a world-renowned neurologist who runs the BC Brain Wellness Program, which relates again to physical activity and music and other things that are designed to not only prevent the decline in mental health, but also to help people with mental illness recover. We heard a lot this morning from Professor Ramsgaard about citizens' participation, co-creation in health programs. So one thing that we're recommending is that government get behind a competition, an annual competition where citizens submit their proposals to get people more active, and that there be an awarding of the top recommendations. And this is something that Sweden does really well, offering personal incentives for exercise. So we're suggesting the Canadian government should offer tax deductions and tax credits to people who have to spend money, people who are of modest means, who have to spend money for physical activity, to encourage them to do that. In provinces like mine, British Columbia, there are already phone lines that are supported by government to help people make decisions and learn about physical activity. We're suggesting that the government expand those programs. And that we know that a lot of time is spent in the workplace. So a natural recommendation is that there should be more support for government corporate sponsor or partnerships so that in the workplace there's more physical activity. And our 14th recommendation is that there be a national cycling strategy. We just came from Copenhagen, and we learned in Copenhagen only a third of the citizens own cars, and then half of the people use the bicycle for recreational and everyday transportation. That comes from leadership. So you might ask, what would be the cost of all these 23 recommendations? Well, we estimate that something around $40 million would be invested, which is a small investment considering the potential returns in improved health outcomes and reduced healthcare costs. It's a tiny percentage of the $344 billion that Canada spends on reactive healthcare. To our potential sponsors, foundations, and individual donors and government representatives, your support can transform the health of a nation. So I hope that people will visit our website, certainly speak with me or Donna after this conference, and I repeat what an honor it is to present in such a prestigious international audience. I thank you for your attention. I look forward to your questions, both here at the conference and afterwards. Finally, let me again offer thanks to our Swedish hosts. Sweden has shown that prioritizing physical activity in public health is not just possible, but it's profoundly beneficial. My beloved Saab turns heads on the highways in Canada. It's time for Canada to turn heads with an innovative, forward-thinking approach to health and wellness. Thank you. Tack så mycket.
Many thanks, John. It's a really inspiring presentation. Just keep in mind the question that you will later ask.